Hey guys, it's time to go into greater detail about the severe thunderstorm outbreak the next few days. I'm especially going to be looking at today, April 26th, and tomorrow, April 27th. So going right into it, looking at what's causing this, we have a trough across the central Great Plains states. That's what's bringing the shear for today and tonight across portions of the central and southern plains. And as we go into tomorrow, that first trough ejects to the northeast, bringing the chance for severe storms across the western and northern Great Lakes. But notice how we have a deep trough digging in across the southwest tomorrow. That's going to aid in bringing the wind shear and the helicity and the high helicity for tomorrow, which will bring a potential tornado outbreak for portions of the central and southern Great Plains. So going right to the simulated radar here, let's go. I'm going to time this out hour by hour. So starting off with this morning, we have a cluster of storms moving through eastern Oklahoma. Nothing too intense at the moment. But as we go into later this afternoon and tonight, the area I'm most concerned about will be from Kansas City northwestward to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, right in here for renewed storm development. Noon hours we start getting some storm development here across the northeastern Nebraska. And also we could have some pretty robust storm development across portions of eastern Oklahoma. The model is showing potential for supercells in that area. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some large hail, maybe a tornado here in eastern Oklahoma too. But looking at the environment ahead of this in northeastern Nebraska first, notice how we have very good curvature in the hodograph and veering of the winds in the low levels. We have decent shear in the low levels, which will help aid the tornado threat there. But we do have a cap in place, so that's something we'll have to erode first. And then also looking at eastern Oklahoma, looking at the model sounding for this afternoon. We have some curvature in the hodograph, not a whole lot. So I would expect this activity here more in eastern Oklahoma to be more of a hail threat with the potential for a tornado or two, but not expecting a tornado outbreak across eastern Oklahoma based on that sound in there. But as we go into the evening hours, we have multiple storm clusters and supercells moving into portions of Missouri by this point. Also, then what I'm most concerned about is this line of storms that develops here between Omaha and Sioux Falls. We could see the potential for embedded vortices in this squall line. I expect a few tornadoes possible embedded in there. I don't think, based on this, the fact that it's more of a line segment the model is showing, I'd expect, I wouldn't expect a tornado outbreak out of this or any strong tornadoes, but could easily get some low-end tornadoes embedded within the squall line, and with these storms also across portions of Missouri tonight. And then as we get into the evening hours, closer to sunset, these storms in western Iowa start to approach Des Moines. So I'd expect large hail, maybe a tornado or two possible still with this line of storms as it moves through Iowa tonight. And as we go into the overnight hours, that moves up to the east, and then we have to watch out for the next system tomorrow morning that brings storm development across Texas and Oklahoma, even all the way by the morning hours. And then as that pushes to the east, the main show starts to develop in the afternoon, especially across Oklahoma, where we already have a line of storms starting to develop, maybe a few discrete supercells also shown in there. And it's also another area I'm concerned about is across the Nebraska and Kansas border area along that warm front. Could see a potential strong supercell in that area. And as we go into the evening hours tomorrow, we could have a few supercells developing across southern Nebraska. Something to keep an eye on. Could we have extremely large hail out of that, and tornado potential also with the very good helicity in place. And then also, especially tomorrow evening, maybe even after sunset tomorrow across portions of Oklahoma and northern Texas, that's when the model is showing multiple supercells that's starting to develop in this area. These could be quite robust with the high helicity in place and the cap being eroded. I would expect potential for very large hail, maybe several tornadoes possible, maybe even a few large long track damaging tornadoes. This is the first time this year where I'm actually concerned about a potential tornado outbreak with what I'm seeing with the simulated radar, and also with all the high helicity we have in place, especially across portions of Oklahoma and far northern Texas tomorrow. That's where I think we could have this widespread supercell storm starting to develop tomorrow evening. And as we even as we get closer to the midnight hour, we're still talking about multiple supercells here across portions of Oklahoma and northern Texas. Places like Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, Texas. Also keep an eye on this. Very concerning look tomorrow night with the amount of supercells in place, of extremely large hail and tornadoes possible out of this. And then this starts to form into clusters and line segments. Could have a squall line by the overnight hours into very early on Sunday morning from northern Texas all the way to Missouri. This would keep the threat for any large tornadoes down, but we could still easily get some embedded vortices in there that could bring a low-end tornado possible. Maybe a little bit. It's still showing the potential for hail cores also, because those could still see some hail out of this with the squall line tomorrow night into very early on Sunday morning, April 28th. And then by Sunday, all that pushes to the east, which brings a severe threat for portions of Texas to Illinois on Sunday, April 28th. Now, looking at some of the parameters here, I want to show the bulk shear in the lowest kilometer because this is a very important tornado parameter. As we go later today, we have very high values here across portions of western Iowa. That will bring the tornado threat there, and also across portions of eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and Missouri. So we could still see a couple tornadoes in that area too. But I'm mostly concerned about large hail in that southern portion there. And as we go into tomorrow, we have very high bulk shear values in the lowest kilometer here across Oklahoma, Kansas, and then even along that warm front there near the border of Kansas and Nebraska. And these values really start to explode tomorrow night. That's what brings that potential for very large supercell storms. We're talking multiple supercells possible with these bulk shear values across Oklahoma. And then looking at the helicity values also for today and tonight, we have some pretty high values across eastern Oklahoma to Missouri and also across portions of Iowa. And then as we go into tomorrow, especially tomorrow night, we get extremely high values develop all across the plain states, even into Nebraska. So tornado potential with this whole system tomorrow across the Great Plains. And looking at the helicity, tracks for today and tonight, the model is showing pretty good helicity tracks across portions of eastern Nebraska into western Iowa, so that indicates we could have tornadoes there today. And also from the eastern Oklahoma into Missouri, so potential for a couple tornadoes there also today and tonight. And as we go into tomorrow, notice how we get multiple helicity tracks, widespread helicity tracks from northern Texas across Oklahoma into the borders of Kansas and Missouri. So that's telling me we could have widespread tornado activity tomorrow there. And then notice how we have even a few isolated tracks across the Kansas-Nebraska border area, even the potential for a pretty intense track there. So the potential is there for an isolated strong tornado even across that area along that warm front tomorrow, especially across southern Nebraska. And if I'm not mistaken, that's all I got for today. So I hope everyone stays safe today and tonight and tomorrow with the severe storm outbreak. I hope everyone keeps an eye on this, stays weather aware, and I hope you all have a good one. See you next time.